The process of globalization focuses on growing economic interdependence in international economies. Besides, globalization implies new local and nationalistic perspectives with a greater outlook of an interconnected and interdependent world with free transfer of capital, goods, and services across frontiers. So, before a company decides to expand their business into a new country, there are many questions to be answered, and this is why many companies fail to perform one of the most crucial preparation steps, which is deciding the overall expansion strategy. Prior to make the strategy, it's important to identify what value can your company's core competence create by operating in a new country. As a response, in 2007, Professor Panka Gemawat of New York University and IESE Business School published an article in Harvard Business Review where he presented the AAA Triangle Framework. The purpose of the framework is to help companies decide the most convenient overall strategy for creating value through international expansion. Therefore, the AAA strategy highlights three generic international strategies, which are adaptation, aggregation, and arbitrage. For this project, we're going to measure the effectiveness of the AAA framework, in which we will see the current strategy of Amore Pacific in South Korea.
By taking information from the Brio and the financial statement we did in the last activity, we were able to obtain a weighting so that we could develop the AAA strategy for these firms, from which we could observe that if we look to the graphic, the more Pacific strategy is more focused to an arbitrage strategy because they don't take advantage of differences. This is due to that they are in their home country, so they take advantage of cultural knowledge and their experience. And because of this is that they have some advantage regarding its competence. Talking about LG, we could see that their strategy is more focused on research and development, and this could be seen in its portfolio. Now, talking about L'Oreal, as it is a big multinational, they are more focused on advertising because their main goal is to make themselves known in foreign markets. So their entry mode is by spending a lot of money in advertising. Also, we could see that their strategy, they also use the strategy of arbitrage, as they are a multinational and they try to take advantage of any difference. From this framework, we could conclude that these firms, they are homogeneous in the internal and the international market, and that that and that Amore Pacific, they are strong in research and development. They are not in Korea. They are more focused on arbitrage.
As we see, Amore Pacific and the industry in general tend to use more adaptation because through variation they can make changes in their products as well as adjustments to policies and business positioning, which later on will lead to an easy acceptance by customers. However, the company's behavior is determined by the industry. On the other hand, arbitrage is the second most used strategy in this type of industry because it's a way of exploiting difference rather than adapting or linking them. In fact, it defines the global strategy as buying low in one market and sell higher in another, by using outsourcing and offshoring methods.
Now we will talk about the strategy for China. So as you can see in the cage framework, we see that and we analyze that South Korea and China have a very similar culture with similar principles. So we are not focusing our biggest attention on the differences because they're very similar. But nevertheless, we found that a cultural distance is that because of climate in China and their culture, they emphasize people give a lot of attention to moisturizing and glow in this Chinese market. So we found this difference, and we are going to focus our production and our research and development on having good quality products in moisturizing and glow to be able to get deep in the market of China and have a great participation. The next, the triple triangle, as we can see, we give more importance to adaptation than aggregation. And as I said before, because of the similarities in China, we're not going to focus a big part in arbitrage, mostly on aggregation and having economies of scale, and take advantage of the of how close they are, and how we can have a big financial power to be able to move our operations to China. Also adaptation, because of the similarities, we're not focusing a lot of that, but on aggregation.
So in summary, and thanks by this graphic, we can appreciate that the customer preferences in China are too similar with the South Korean preferences. And in this order, sub-industry which more growth during the last year was the mass beauty and personal care, and the second one was skincare. And it means that the company can take advantage of this huge opportunity for expanding their market share and sales, exploiting these similarities.
So for adaptation, we found some points that we can focus, and we are using a variation in repositioning, focus on the geographies, externalization on the strategic alliance, and design in the party tuning. In the variation, we will use the repositioning focus about our product. As I said before, the moisturizing and glow, they will be the part that we'll focus on.
Okay, about focus, which consists on reducing the need for variation, we choose two sub-levels. The first one is geography, and the second one is segments. Why the first one? Well, the first one because China and South Korea are two similar countries, so they share different aspects, as we can solve in the cage model. And segments because there are many people from Korea into China, so it eases the implementation of strategies on this Chinese market. About externalization, well, we know that the company is already in China, but the idea of selling experiences such as into Korea, we think that it is a good idea for the company because the Chinese people, the Chinese market, the Chinese customers want to experience, right, like the shopping way in west, right? So we think that through strategic alliances they could achieve this goal, and as well as through different department stores like in Korea. In terms of design, we choose the partitioning, right? Because the standardization degree into China is going to be high, right? It's going to be like important for the company. So through this sub layer, they can manufacture different standardized products as well as fully standardized products, right? So Okay, in terms of aggregation, in terms of how implement the aggregation in the international strategy of the company, uh, we had 6 options, right? But we choose 2 of them, and these are regional portfolio and regional hubs. So why we decided for this combination? Well, because the company has the capability to do that, right? Especially in terms of financial performance, in financial muscle, right? So in terms of regional portfolio, the idea is to increase the market share, the positioning, the sales in the region, in the Asian region. And this region, this market is so huge and so important for the company because it's composed by different countries and different islands, right? Which are similar in many aspects, but they are too different in some of them. So through this strategy, they can build up a manufacturing plant in China, right? And with the current one in South Korea, they can supply the whole demand of the region. So, for example, the Chinese manufacturing plant is going to supply the demand from Japan, from Philippines, for Taiwan, etc. And the Korean one is going to supply the other markets. So, it allows the company to ensure the region supply. And in terms of regional hubs, we could appreciate that risk is always present, right? So it's never zero, right? So through this strategy, the company can reduce that risk. For example, imagine that the Japanese market wants a huge amount of products, and the Korean manufacturing plant cannot supply that demand. So the Chinese plant can transfer, can share, can send some resources in order to the South Korean manufacturing plant could supply this demand, and it ensures the supply in the whole region. So, in conclusion, the company could exploit the financial strong resource that they have, besides the research and development. And how? Well, eh, as the Asian market is a huge market with differences and similarities, they will have to invest in research and development in order to exploit the differences, the small differences among countries and markets.
Okay, talking about the triple strategy, triangle in Amore Pacific in France, the first topic and the principal is arbitrage for us. The second one is adaptation, and third is aggregation. We are going to explain after this slide the reasons of why we decide arbitrage. Speaking about the triple strategy, we decide arbitrage first because the first thing is to take advantage of the differences between continents, since France is located in a strategy point in the European region where it's very easy to do business and to introduce market products. The second reason, the differences in terms of consumption trend between the European market and Asia, uh, where you can expand the product line because the width the same European region where the consumption trends are very similar. You can reach a lot of people where there are at least 350 million potential customers. It's a market which can be leveraged in a very good way. Something very important is the ease that there is in France to do business. It's located in the 32nd place, besides that it has a very low corruption rate. That's a reason very positive to locate it in this country. The currency managed in France and in the European region is the euro, which is a very positive point because of the high price of the currency. That reason will make the company's profits a little bit higher. The European workforce is very high quality, which will guarantee our consumers very good quality of products and thus confidence in the purchase of products from our company. The income per capita in France is $41,000, which give our products purchasing power. Secondly, we believe that Amore Pacific should continue the path of the adaptation strategy with an emphasis on the product and metrics variation in order to mitigate the variation in the consumption patterns and the measurement within a much larger economy. All this is achieved with an outsourcing focused on strategic alliances, like an acquisition or a joint venture with a local company that knows the market, thus integrating flexible designs and innovating in terms of localization and a recombination of products where new lines are created and existing ones are adapted. Finally, we consider that when the company has consolidated a strong financial muscle, it would be the perfect time to approach the aggregation strategy. Having already established their own production plants in French, they could focus on achieving economies of scale by implementing a regional portfolio where these plants supply the French market and prepare to expand to the rest of the European markets.
As a recommendation, it is better to use adaptation when the approach employed by the firms trying to increase the profit and market share by taking full advantage of local significance. On the other hand, it is recommended to use aggregation when the intention is to create economies of scale or scope by generating regional or international operations. The last recommendation is to use arbitrage in case where corporations want to exploit economy or other difference between national or regional market, mostly by locating, separating fragments of the supply chain in different places.
For the entry to France, the most important will be to focus on the arbitrage in order to take advantage of the regional proximity between the European countries and get a significant expansion focused on the adaptation of the offer to the European needs. Then, having built a great financial muscle in the region, Amore Pacific could create a regional portfolio to emphasize on meeting the whole European demand without neglecting the other markets.
Regarding the Chinese case, and as Emmanuel said, the company has to exploit the differences and take advantage of the several opportunities that the Asian market offers. And it's possible thanks by the financial muscle and the experience that the company has. And in this way, the company will be able to decrease its cost through economies of scale.